Come on, Power, you can do it.
Hi all, welcome to another session of Nal Delhi and Oas Delhi. So today with us we have Abhinav, who is of Nal Delhi and Oas Delhi. So today with us we have. I'm so sorry for the echo. Yeah, we have Abhinav with us, so who has been associated with us since quite a long time, and he is a co-founder of Incyphers, and he has also developed many tools, and he is a great contributor for in the society as well. Um, and with me, I have Ankit, who is the co-host, who will be the co-host for this webinar.
Hey
Hi.
guys.
So till now, you have seen Ankit in the background and like addressing all the comments and all. But yeah, he's still in the background. He's not showing his picture right now. But
Till
yeah,
now you have seen Ankit in
he
the
will be
background
here
and
and he will
like
be addressing all the queries, whatever queries you have. And yeah, just let me pop up Abhinav. I have enough.
Hello everyone. Thanks
Hi.
Pratul for the introduction. Thanks
Yeah.
Ankit for
it's
not
going to
giving the
be a bit
introduction.
it's going to be a bit different now, Abhinav, because you won't be able to hear your attendees' voices. So
I know.
I hope that does
I know,
not change
thanks.
a lot.
Yeah, all thanks to Corona.
So a little heads up for you. I hope that doesn't changes a lot of things.
Yeah.
So we'll be taking questions at 4:40. That has been strategically decided by Pratul because he has had a lot of experience hosting these meetups nowadays. Corona has taught him a lot of things. And then we'll take another break at I think 5:30. Pratul, that's right.
Yeah. Since
Okay.
this is
Meanwhile, I'll try to be on YouTube and answer your comments. We'll not distract Abhinav, and we'll get to your questions and try to answer as many as we can. Okay. Without wasting any further time, over to you, Abhinav. All the best.
always have enough.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. So let me quickly start my screen sharing. All right. So I hope my screen is visible to you guys.
Your screen is not shared right now.
Okay. One sec. Is it visible now?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Great.
Go ahead.
Okay, so this session is about getting started with hacking Android and iOS applications. Um, so just to give you guys a heads up that we are going to talk in next 1 hour or so. We are going to talk about how to get yourself started with hacking Android as well as iOS applications. We are not going to get much into the how part. So, but this talk is basically going to be about um, how to get started with these things, what type of issues you might face in the starting, what tools you might need to know. So basically, we are going to talk about the methodology more and less about the how stuff, which is what to do and how to do it. So as simple as that. So this is more sort of 1 hour into getting started part. So before starting, I just created this slide because Pratul already talked about this, but just to share it with here for people. My name is Abhinav Mishra. I am the founder of Encyphers. So we are a small infosec consulting firm. We provide trainings, web, mobile infrastructure, security, and hacking. You can find us on Twitter uh, with the handle Encyphers underscore, and my Twitter handle is Octacoder. The website is encyphers.com, so feel free to go ahead and check whenever you want. All right, so yeah, mobile application penetration testing. So a lot of people these days, not just these days, but have been very from past say a year or few years, have been very interested into learning mobile application penetration testing. But there have been multiple myths and multiple issues that they face even while starting itself. And so I thought of having this talk focused on the same stuff itself, like how to get started, what should be the methodology, to prepare yourself and learn the skills required for penetration testing of mobile applications, and so on and so forth. Now, this talk is basically going to be going through this timeline, which is what, why, how, and where. So the first question is what. So I always believe that uh, the most important part while you are trying to learn anything is to learn what to learn, is to find the answer of what. So in mobile application or security testing or penetration testing, also the first thing you should be doing is you should be learning is to find out what to learn, what exactly to learn. If it is testing, then what to test, and of course what not to test as well. The second important question, or probably the most important in all of this, is why to test that. Like, so if you're talking about testing iOS and Android applications, then what are we testing first? And then whatever we come up with the answer of the first question, then why we are testing those things. That is the second part. And then the third part, which is how to test. Now, the how to test part is the one where majority of people get stuck, or not just stuck, but majority of people actually focus on. So we generally, when it comes to learning iOS application testing or Android application testing, the first thing that we do generally is just, pop up with some tutorials online and just start learning some application that we can just run on, or some tools that we can run on onto our laptops or on our device, and then just quickly, like the shortest way to find some vulnerabilities and things like that. So basically, that at that point of time, we are actually focusing on how to do it, and we have not focused, or even not even started on what to do and why to do. So this talk is also going to talk a bit about how to do it, but a lot of times I will also be talking about what and why, and then we'll definitely talk about where to go. So once you learn XYZ, then you might get stuck at some place, and then you want to know that what else you can learn, where to go to find the answers and things like that. So we're going to talk a bit about that as well. All right, so just a small disclaimer is that this is around a 1 hour talk. I strongly believe that if I focus on the technical part of anything, be it even a simple topics, even simple part of the pen testing of a mobile application, it would definitely take a lot of time. So I rather chose not to talk much about the technical part. We will do some technical stuff, but not much on very deep on the technical stuff, because the internet is filled with good tutorials, talks, blogs, courses, and whatnot on mobile application security. So we are basically going to talk about methodology and the resources, and that's what we're going to discuss. All right, so if you remember this slide, so the first part that we should be talking about is what to do, right? So that's here. What to do means what to test. When it comes to mobile application security, the thing that we are going to talk about is first we should talk about is what to test and what to look for while you are doing a mobile application pen testing. So I also would like to say that the methodology should always be focused and based on the knowledge that you have for the operating system. So if it is an Android operating system, or if you are going to do an Android application pen testing, your methodology should not be focused around tools, that I have to run this tool first and then have to use some other tool second, and then things like that. It should be focused around the methodology, should be focused around the knowledge you have for the application or the operating system. So if you're testing an e-commerce application on an Android platform, then your methodology should go around the same knowledge rather than just running some bunch of tools. All right, so basically, if I talk about mobile application security, this is just very basic stuff, guys, and then we'll quickly move on to some hands-on things, and then we can go around from there. Also, one more thing before I start is that I wanted this session to be, it would be great if you can come up with questions that you want to ask. And if you're just starting in mobile application security, any question, any random question regarding jailbreaking, what device to buy, whether Mac is required or not. I have tried to answer some questions in the slide. I'll talk about them, but it would be great if you can ask questions. So keep popping up questions in the comment section of wherever you're watching this, maybe YouTube. And I think Pratul will be able to pop the questions up in front of me. So I'll answer them. Right. So the mobile application penetration testing is mainly divided into two parts. You must have read about this or heard about this a lot of times. One is the static testing, and the other part is this dynamic analysis. Static analysis and dynamic analysis. So as the name suggests, basically static analysis is everything. all the static stuff, if you can test whatever you can do on the static stuff. So when I say static, it means that if there is a package, say for iOS application, if there is a package which goes by the name IPA, for Android it is an APK. So whatever there inside the package, testing that part is basically moreover known as static analysis. And then once you install the application onto your device and then use it, then whatever the application does is called, and if you test that part, it would be called as dynamic testing. So static testing would be looking into the package, extracting the package somehow from somewhere. If it is on, how do you get the package? If it is on Apple Play Store, iOS Play Store, or Google Play, and then if you get the package, then what to do with the package? What else to look for in the package? And similarly, what to do when the application is installed and running. So some of the examples can be network calls when the application is running. That would come into dynamic analysis. That would come into dynamic analysis part. Any crypto related things that the application is doing, any storage analysis, that would come into the dynamic analysis. And then static analysis will be just getting the package and then looking inside the package and trying to find out what is there and what can you do with that information which is there. So, so what, when it comes to what, the first thing that you know, probably the first thing that you should get is that you should know that Android application package is a APK, and the IPA is the iOS application package. So if you're going to test an Android application, the first thing you should care about is to start with the static analysis and get hold of the APK of that application. Now, APK can be found from multiple sources. Like, for example, if you have the application installed onto your device, you can just simply extract the APK from the phone itself on your Android phone using multiple tools, APK extractor, ES file explorer, whatnot. There are multiple file managers that give you option to extract the APK from the device itself, and you can just have the APK. When it comes to iOS testing, IPA is the package. Now, IPA, how do you get the IPA? One of the options is, if you're doing it for your company, if the pen test is for the company, you can go ahead and simply ask the development team to provide you with an IPA. Or the other part is that you can install the IPA onto your test device, your iPhone or iPad, and then use bunch of utilities or tools to extract the IPA. Now, why you are doing this? Because you want to do the static analysis. And then the static analysis is basically looking into the package. So the first thing you need to do is get hold of the package. So once you have the package, basically the next part to know is that it is nothing but more or less, it is just a zip of multiple files. So whatever code that the developer has written, whatever the resources file, everything that the application needs to function, all of them put into one folder and then zip the whole folder in a specific format. And that would give you a APK or an IPA. So if you get the APK and IP or IPA in your pen test, once you get a hold of it, all you have to do is just extract it. So if I show you guys, just one sec. All right, so if I go here, here's an IPA that I have. If I go here and I simply go to downloads, do an LS here, you'll get this, and I can simply, I think, do an unzip, or rather you can just simply rename also it as zip and then extract it. Once you do that, you will find that all the files that are there inside the package have been extracted into a folder called payload. And then inside that payload folder, you have another file or a folder which is called .app. App is nothing but a folder which contains all the files. And here you have everything which is there, which is required for this application to work. Similarly, you can do with the APK also. APK is also some simply zip format. You can unzip it and do have a look around the application, right? So that's basically what to test for in static analysis. So you got the IP or APK extracted is, you can look into manifest file for Android application. You can look for plist files, resources that the app would need, all the resources files, source code would be there. XML, config, resources, etc., certificates, etc. So you can just extract all this information and have a look inside the folder that we just extracted, and you'll have access to all the files, resources that the application needs to work. Now that is one part of the. So remember, we are talking about that there are two parts: static analysis and dynamic analysis, and we are looking for the answer of what to test in static and dynamic analysis. So we got the answer of first part. What to test in static analysis is that everything that is inside or that is a part of the package. So we got the package, we extracted the package, we looked into the file, and then now we know that this is what we need to test for. And then what else in the dynamic analysis, what you should be testing for is that if once you install the application onto the device, probably the first thing that it does, either iOS on iOS or on Android, is that it asks for some certain permissions, either to you access some data, some storage, some data, use hardware, make network calls, use internet, use Bluetooth, something like that. So the first thing basically the application does is checks for and asks for permissions. The second part is you provide your personal or your account data to the application, which might be your username, password, email address, personal details, photograph, phone number, address, XYZ. So all of this personal information you provide to the application. That is probably the second most important part. The third is that the application makes call to some backend. In that part, it does some calls over internet, which might be over TLS or which might not be over HTTPS. So HTTP or HTTPS based calls. Yes.
Can you? There's a request. Can you make the screen, like the presentation, on the full screen mode, if it is possible?
Yeah, it is possible. I didn't know that it would be better. Is it better now?
Yes, I guess there was a thing. Yeah, it is better now. Much better. Thank you.
All right. Cool. Right. So first thing is basically permission on the device. Second is you provide your personal data to the device, to the application, and the third one is the network calls. Second is probably the device application is doing some on-device security. What it can be is that it is encrypting the data at rest, which is whatever data you provided, it saves onto the device, and it is encrypting that data. Then you probably would be interested into knowing that where the data is getting saved, what are the storage details, and then also the API calls. So every application nowadays are very hybrid. They basically talk to the back end. They perform a lot of crucial and critical action on your behalf. So all the API calls that it makes. So this all basically what you see over here, this is basically a bit of what happens in the dynamic analysis, and everything and pretty much all of things that you see on your screen should be tested. And this is what you need to test in dynamic analysis. So basically everything that is happening on your device should be tested. And this is the answer for what to test when it comes to dynamic analysis part. But together with that, there are a lot of other things also. Like for example, anything else on the device which actually handles user or application data. So for that application, anything which is on the device that handles the user or application data should also be tested. Anything which handles the network connection should be tested. Anything which checks or anything which asks for a device permission should be tested, that why it is asking for the permission, and then what it is doing with the permission. Or anything which implements any security control. So if the application is implementing any security control, then that part should also be tested. If the application is not, if you're not an admin user and the application is not letting you perform some functionalities with a normal user account, then that part should be tested to find that how the application is implementing that. What the application is actually doing with the code that stops you from accessing it. Is it a client-side security control? Is the check run on the client side, or is it a backend API call? Does the application trust the API response? So on and so forth. So all of these things should be tested while you're doing dynamic analysis. Now we know that from here, we know that there are two types of testing, and now we have a very basic idea about what to test in both of these categories. Now we'll talk about how to do some of the things, but that is something that you can very easily find on the internet. Okay, so now we know that what to be tested, right? We know that what comprises of an application. We know that what happens when the application gets installed onto the device. Now the second most important part is, now the second thing to know is that why to test that part. So if you talk about, I said that the application package is basically IP or APK file, and and the IP or APK file is nothing but a zip file, and then the zip file has a lot of resources and all the source code and everything. But so that is something that we should test in a static analysis, I said. But the next question is why we should be testing that part. Now, there can be numerous example of it. One of the most common example is that because you can, in case of Android application, you can take the APK and literally extract pretty much all the source code of the application which was written into Java in most of the cases. Now, because the whole source code can be extracted, and we just saw that, in iOS application, it is the extract of an iOS application. In iOS application also, you can extract a lot of information like info.plist file, certificate file, and then there is a lot of frameworks, related details, and bunch of other things also. So basically, if you extract so much information from the package, then there is a chance, there is a possibility that some of that information might be very sensitive and might have been in the source code, because the developer thought that no one is going to look into the source code. So once you have hold of the source code or the package files, it is very, very common that you extract information which might lead to some other attack surface, or which might allow you to maliciously exploit some other application part or something like that. Like, for example, you could extract the strings file from the application package, and you could find some hard-coded backdoor accounts in some cases, or some API secrets or keys, and then use those API or secrets or keys somewhere else. In some cases, you can also reverse engineer the source code, get the original Java code, and then look into the Java code to find a lot of interesting information, which might give you a lot of more attacks, things like that. Bad crypto implementation. It is very common that a lot of developers actually implement encryption of some of the storage, but the encryption key is actually hard-coded inside the application package itself. So if you can reverse engineer the source code and look inside the source code properly, then you might end up getting access to some of the crypto-related stuff, maybe some encryption keys, some secrets, or so on and so forth. So these are just some very small examples of what could be possible if you properly do some static analysis. Now, similarly for dynamic analysis, why you should be testing it? Because obviously it goes without saying that the user data and the application data is the most critical part of any application. If that is a sensitive data, so of course the application should be handling the data very carefully, and it should not be leaked to third party. That's one thing. Now, not implementing a security control could also be a problem. Like, for example, if the application is going over SSL, if the application is making all the connections over SSL and the TLS, and the connection over HTTP or TLS is basically having some sensitive information, but the application fails to implement SSL pinning, which is a very common security control in mobile applications. So that can be an issue. So you should check whether the application implements SSL pinning or not. If it does not implement SSL pinning, that is a missing security control, which could actually lead to some security issues. Request and response. The request that you send, all your data goes into the request, and the response that comes from the server. Both of these things are very important, because all the action actually happens there itself. And the APIs, of course, which are basically taking care, which are actually used to do all the action that is happening on your account. So REST APIs, or whatever APIs the application is using, or whatever request and response it is making to the backend, that again falls into the very, very important category of what should be tested into mobile application and why it should be tested, because these are the parts of application which actually makes all the changes to your account, handles all the user data, and the application should be doing it properly and securely. Then only you can, and that is what you need to test in any application. That was the why part. Now again, these are just very simple examples, and then very, 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 very summary of what you should be looking for when you are starting with mobile application security testing. So what can the list goes like very, very long of what to test. We'll talk about something more related to what to test and why to test, but this is just a very, very short summary of what you should be looking at. So whenever you learn something, whenever you're going to start in mobile application testing, you should first find what to test, and then once you find and you are sure about that this is the part that I need to test, then you should see that why you should try to question yourself and find the answer of why you are testing it. And what is wrong with it if I'm saying that this is vulnerable, or if a tool is saying it is vulnerable. Never just rely on a tool or the output of a tool. All right. So, in my humble opinion, as I said at the start, also, in my humble opinion, if you know what to test and why to test, then finding or knowing how to test, that might be the easiest part. Internet is already filled with because of the awesome security community. Internet is already filled with huge amount of resources that are freely available: blogs, YouTube videos, articles, tools, and whatnot, which are freely available that you can go ahead access. I have given in my presentation, I've given resources, some of the resources also, which you can refer to later. But internet is filled of how to part. The part where you can actually understand what to test, what to test, and what tools you can use to test it. So let's talk about how to test.
Abhinav, you there? It seems your screen is stuck. So, guys, just give me a couple of minutes. Abhinav is reconnecting, and yeah, Abhinav,
Yes, I can hear you.
yeah, you can continue now.
Okay, is it good now?
Yeah, it is good. So apparently there was a problem. Your screen got stuck. So that was the issue. Your screen got stuck, so that was the issue. So you can continue now.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So I was saying that majority of people actually get stuck into this part itself, which is what tools to use, how to use those tools, and if you focus around just click to hack kind of security testing application, then probably they fail majority most of the times. Not most of the time, almost all of the times they fail, and it is just a myth that you would think that, especially in mobile application, that these are going to find some really interesting vulnerabilities. So let's talk about how to do each of these. So we talked about what and why, and let's a bit talk about how to do it. Now, when we talk about how to do it, the first thing is to know what tools, technique, and resources are there. So when we say that what to test, we have been talking about what to test. Then the first thing that I would like to share is that you can go to this uh, web page, which is a checklist for mobile application. So we'll talk about what Mobexler is in a minute, but this is a mobile application penetration testing checklist for Android and iOS application. So when you are questioning when you're trying to find that what to test into a mobile application, once you have the IP or APK, you can end up on this, bookmark this page, and then have a look at all the things that you can test into an application. So for example, in iOS application, once you want to test the application, the first thing to do is to get the IPA file. Now, how to get the IPA file is this, and you can use these tools. So this whole checklist actually lists out all the things that you can do, starting from getting the application package, and then looking into from the dynamic and analysis part, then what to test and how to test and what tools you can use to test it. So getting the IPA, installing the IPA onto the device in case of iOS application, what tools you can use, how to sign it, things like that. There will be a lot of sometimes you will also end up on having some references on some of the sections, which will actually be a reference to an external blog or website or a book, which will help you in understanding what else you can do in that section. So what to test can be solved. A lot of what to test part can be solved using this checklist. So similarly for iOS part, you can have multiple sections. You have multiple sections like file system analysis, and then you test for a bunch of things into file system. You can use some of the tools. Network analysis, you can again check on some of the network related stuff, how to test that, what tools to use, and what references you can refer to while you're trying to actually do that. And then application related issues for iOS itself, again, tools to use and what things you should be testing, then what actually the application is doing and what should be the ideal behavior, what is called as a security issue, how to test web views, local authentication, and XYZ, everything, pretty much everything that you can you should be looking into what to test part into an iOS application section is listed over here. This is a checklist that me and my team manages. So we keep on updating it sometimes whenever we feel like adding something. And so you can actually refer to this. I have already added this as a link to my slide, so you can refer to this and whenever you're doing a pen test. Now, similarly, in Android application pen testing part also, Android pen testing checklist also, you can again refer to all of these things: how to download, get the APK file, what tools to use, installing on the device, how to do the file analysis, how to reverse engineer basics of it, static analysis, network analysis, then dynamic analysis, how to look for application storage, how to look for logs, and XYZ, and then again tools, and then some references also. And there are some references at the back also. So now, once you're starting testing the mobile application, the first thing, obviously, to know what to test, and this is one of the answers that you can refer to. Of course, we try to make sure that this includes a lot of details, but of course, it goes without saying that not one list can have everything that you might need to know. So you can bookmark it, have a look at it, refer to it whenever you are testing the application, but at the same time, know that there might be a lot of other things also that you should be testing. Right. So that's what to test is done. Now, how to test part is that how to set up a lab. Now, when it comes to Android application, the internet is filled with resources, right, on how to set up a mobile application pen testing lab and things like that. So basically, let's talk quickly about what are the hardware requirements when you need to set up a lab for Android. So basically, you only need two hardware requirements, which is one is that a fully working laptop. It can be a Mac, Windows, Linux, any laptop that you need, and then install a bunch of tools onto it. You can get the tool list from here also. Some of the tools are listed over here on this Mobexler checklist page. And then that's pretty much it. If you install Android Studio, you'll get AVD, which is Android Virtual Devices. You can run virtual devices like this on your screen. You can see on my screen, and then use it for purpose. Now, Genymotion, make sure that you follow the licenses. Genymotion comes with a free license only for the personal usage. If you're doing it for commercial uses, don't do it. Make sure you follow the licenses. And similarly, you can use this, or if you don't want to use Genymotion, you can go ahead and use the AVD, which comes pre-installed with Android Studio. Now, that's pretty much it. Now, when this part becomes challenging or complicated when it comes to iOS application testing, because then iOS requires a lot of hardware capabilities for you to start with testing iOS application. Preferably, I would suggest that you have a Mac-based operating system, Mac-based laptop, a Mac laptop, which then only you start with iOS application pen testing, because there are a lot of proprietary tools which only comes for iOS or which only comes for Mac-based operating system, like Xcode, iOS App Signer, things like that. So that can be a challenge. So one thing is that you need a Mac, and then second is that you need a real device, because unlike Android, there are no virtual devices for iOS. Right. So once you have both of these things, then you can start with the iOS testing also. Now, how to set up lab for iOS? Again, you can have a MacBook, install all the tools that you need to use, and then make it run. Once you have the iDevice, which is iPhone or iPad, you can jailbreak that and then go ahead with testing the application. Now this looks easy, but again, this can be very difficult, because if you have just one laptop, it might not be a very good idea to flood it with 25, 30 different tools for Android and iOS, as well as web pen testing. So, and then it might be the case that you don't even have a Mac, or you're not going to buy the Mac as just for the iOS testing because you're just starting. So in that case, what we did is that we created an Mobexler, which is nothing but a mobile application penetration testing platform. So it is a virtual machine based on Linux-based operating systems, and it is customized to perform Android and iOS application pen testing. So you can just import the virtual machine, like I have done using VirtualBox or VMware over here, like I have done, and then you can run the virtual machine like this. And once you run the virtual machine, it comes pre-installed pretty much with everything. Like all the tools are pre-installed. You can find Android Zone and iOS Zone, and you can find a lot of tools that are needed for pen testing of Android and iOS applications pre-installed and pre-set up into it. So this solves a couple of challenges that you might have. Now, when it comes to the first question that might come to your mind is that if Mac is required, then how Mobexler is able to do iOS and Android application pen testing also when it is based on Linux operating system. So first is that Mobexler, that some of the tools cannot be installed on non Mac based laptops. So in that case, Mobexler also lacks there. So like for example, Xcode is not available for Linux based operating system. So Mac does not. So Mobexler does not have it. So for that part, you will anyways have to use Mac. But there are a lot of things that you can do and test using Linux on Mobexler for iOS applications also. We'll talk about that in a minute, uh, probably if you have much time. This is really a very small session, so we'll have to be really fast in covering things. So what does Mac does? So when to use these things is when you does not have a MacBook for iOS testing, or you don't want to install a larger amount of tools, or the third part is when you want to test iOS and Android from the same setup. Like you just have one virtual machine and then you can use that for testing Android as well as iOS applications. So for example, like in here, if you see on my screen, I've simply imported Mobexler on a Windows-based laptop. This is a Windows 10 host machine that is running. And I'm running a Genymotion device. You can run any real device also and attach to it, or you can have AVD also running over here. So if I have this, I can simply go ahead on my Mobexler, run terminal, and simply see if I am connected with any devices. So Mobexler already comes with different number of tools. For example, if you go to Android Zone, you'll find all the tools that it comes pre-installed with. So I can just go ahead and choose what tools I want to run. So the first thing that probably one needs to do is basically find, as I said, static analysis. So if I show you guys over here, if I go to download section, I have a APK file over here. So I can simply go to, for a static analysis, I can use JADX, which is a tool. I can simply go to Mobexler start menu, Android Zone, JADX, and simply open the APK file from here. And that's done. I don't have to do anything else. The reverse engineering of APK is done. And I can just extract it and read the whole source code, whatever I want to read from here itself. For all the application that I want to do, I can just quickly go ahead and read the full source code from JADX itself. So one part is very simple. Now, second part is ADB devices. To connect this device, which is another virtual device running over here, to Mobexler, all I have to do is simply go and use a Wi-Fi ADB utility, start it, and then simply do ADB connect 192.168.196.101.5555, and then that's done. Now I can do ADB devices, and this device is connected to my Mobexler virtual machine. Now the whole setup part becomes extremely easy, because now I can pretty much do anything with it. If I do ADB shell, you'll see that I got into ADB shell itself. Now pretty much everything is done. I can also go to download section and I do simply ADB install, and then do the APK file, and it will simply install the ADB application over the Genymotion. Now the beautiful part is that you don't just have this part. You also can connect. Now currently this is my iPhone connected to my laptop itself, my Windows laptop, and by going to devices, USB, and selecting the Apple iPhone part, I can connect my iPhone also to it. So at the same time, while my laptop is running an virtual device of Android, I am also connected Mobexler with a real iPhone or a real iOS device. And you can see that on the desktop itself, I see that I'm connected to iPhone. Now, if I want to also play around with my iPhone, I can actually do SSH. If I show you guys, the IP address of my iPhone is 192.168.0.5. I want to do SSH onto it, I can simply do this. And because it is a jailbroken device, I can log in inside this. So now using one single setup, currently I'm logged in into my iPhone, and I can do the storage analysis. And at the same time, I can open a second terminal and do ADB shell, and I will be connected inside the Android, right? So now the whole setup part becomes extremely easy, because now I can test any tools that I want. If I want to run passion fruit, which is very common application, which is a very good application for iOS testing, I can just run passion fruit and it will run from here. I can also connect to a Google device or an Android device from here. I can do files, I can run for any application that I want, test those application. Similarly, I have mobile security framework, which is very good for static analysis. So I can just click upload APK or IPA from here, and it will do the static analysis part onto it. I can also go ahead and say I want to connect with Frida. I can do Frida minus PS minus UA, and you will see that my iPhone is already connected with the Frida. If I want to disconnect iPhone from Frida and connect to Android, I can do that. So basically, one platform does handle pretty much everything that you want to do it, right? Now, if I want to do a static analysis of any part, I just did a static analysis of IPA. I have a lot of details on that IPA from here itself. If I want to again do a static analysis on the APK, I already have the APK. I can just simply go ahead and run that. With passion fruit, I can explore the local storage. So if you see over here, if I run this application, and I can do all the analysis of that application right from Mobexler on my from using my iPhone. So this is the test application that I have, and I can pretty much do everything because the tool lets you do that, passion fruit. Similarly, you can play around with Frida and whatnot. So the static analysis part we already saw, Hopper, and there are a bunch of other applications also. Ghidra, Hopper, all a lot of other applications also comes pre-installed, which you can of course use to perform uh, the testing. Let me run Hopper, and I don't know if we have the. So if I want to do say static analysis of iOS application, I can simply go here, run terminal, simply unzip the IPA file, and then go inside the payloads folder. Inside it, take the binary file and just drag and drop the binary file over here, and Hopper will disassemble the application for me, and I will have the disassembled information right in front of me from here itself. I can also, as you just saw, that I have done SSH onto my device also. So I can again, on my iPhone also, I have done SSH over here. So I can just do it. If I want to say connect to Frida minus PS minus UA, I already explained that, but let's do this. So Frida minus PS minus UA. If I want to use objection, I can simply write objection minus G 1493 explode. Right, so I'm connected to objection also. If I want to test for local storage, I can do env, and I can then use this probably this directory and simply uh, go to that directory using SSH, or probably use another utility called FileZilla, which is also pre-installed, and I can then do 192.168.0 .0.5 root alpine, and I think should connect. I don't know if I am given the. I think the IP address is not correct. Just one sec. So 192.168.0.5 is correct. 0.5 username root. Yes, so port 22 is the correct port. It was connecting on port 21. Now I'm connected into my iPhone right from here itself. And then I can again go and explore the whole directory. So basically, what I was doing over here is that I was using Mobexler as a single setup, which allows me to do a hell lot of things related to iOS as well as Android application pen testing. Right now, what to test was fine. We got this lab setup working, and maybe you will stuck at some of the other part, but basically more or less you will figure it out We have a lot of resources on Mobexler website also. If you go to setup page, you will find step detail on how to set up Mobexler for Android application. And now iOS is very simple. Just plug in your real device and then connect the USB inside Mobexler, and that's pretty much done. As soon as that is done, you're all good to go. So you can refer to this page, and if you want to know what tools the Mobexler comes pre-installed with, you can go to the tools section and have a look at all the tools that it comes pre-installed with. This comprises both of iOS as well as Android section. All right. Now, the next question is that this is all good and fancy, but if you're just starting with, you have absolutely zero idea of what I was doing so far on iOS or on Android. Now, that is the part that you need to actually, that is the how part, that how to test it. If I want to do a reverse engineering, or if I want to do, say, SSL testing, or if I want to do any other type of testing, how to do that testing. Now, in that case, in that part, the tools and techniques and resources section from the internet or from multiple sources comes handy. So, in order to do why to do the source code analysis, or why to do the static analysis of iOS application, if you know what to do, then it would be very easy for you to find that how to do it, right? So I have listed a lot of tools, resources, blogs, and whatnot, blogs, talks, YouTube videos over here itself, which we can which you can refer to and find that what to do and how to do it. Right. I don't know. Pradul, I forgot that we had to take a break at 4:40, but
No, so you were quite in the
right,
flow, so I didn't interrupt.
that's fine. So, do we have any question? Do you want to take a break, or
We can take up. There are some basic questions. So you can take it up. I'll just pop in front of you. So before this question, there were many questions about the slides and the webinar and video. So guys, we do share everything. So I would please ask not to ask this question. So we do share a lot and we do it. So yeah, this is a question: is there a hardware requirement for AVD or Genie Motion?
so the hardware requirement for AVD or Genymotion is only that you are able to run a virtual machine onto your device. So basically, Genymotion or AVD is nothing but a virtual machine. But if you try to run a virtual machine inside a virtual machine, for example, if you try to install Mobexler and then you go inside Mobexler and try to create a virtual machine, then it might be not possible with VirtualBox, because then that is a virtualization inside a virtualization. So basically, otherwise, if you're doing it onto your host computer, like I have done, the Mobexler is also running as a virtual machine here, and this device is also running on a virtual machine here. So there is no such, only the RAM requirements would be there. Like if you have a 4 GB RAM, should be good enough to run these utilities. But again, don't try to run inside the virtual machine itself.
So this is another question by Balram. Can you suggest some tools like Cuckoo Droid, except Mobesef, specifically analyzing Android malware?
Specifically analyze Android malware. So analyzing Android malware. So what MobSF does is basically it checks in the background that the APK that you have uploaded is this APK or any part of the resources that are inside the APK is basically flagged as a malware on the malware websites or not. So that's what it does. So basically, I think it does, and MobSF does a pretty good job for it. If you're trying to find that whether an application is behaving as a Mobex or as a malware or not, then probably you should be doing it manually and try to find and analyze the behavior of the application. Again, having simply saying that this is a tool which is better than the other ones, or basically if you run this tool then the problem is solved, is not something that I would recommend. So I will suggest that install the application, analyze the behavior, try to find what request response that it does, what data does it sends in the background, does it tries to do some behavior which should not be happening on your device, things like that, and then only you'll be able to find whether it is a malware or not. Or you can just simply take the APK and upload it to APK, or extract the files and upload it to VirusTotal. And I think VirusTotal also has a show, but I think I saw it before. So on VirusTotal also you can just go ahead and upload the file, and it should be able to tell you whether it is a malware or not.
Okay. So we also have your fan of the tool, Mobexler, Ubaid. So he had been
Thanks,
using
Abed.
your. And Ubaid, if you have any questions about Mobexler, so Abhinav is there. You can always reach out to him.
Yeah, sure.
This is another question. Balram had asked.
No, Balram, I'm using. So if you have a Mac and if you want to share a screen of iPhone on Mac, then you can use QuickTime Player, which comes pre-installed with Mac. I'm using Windows right now, and I'm using the application called Let's View. Should I write it into the chat itself? Uh,
Yeah, you can write it
let's
down.
Let's View is the. I think I sent it to the private chat. Pratul, if you
Yeah,
can share that. Yeah.
yeah, sure.
So let's view. Yeah, let's view is the name of the tool that I'm using right now over here. It is free tool again. You can use it for sharing the screen of iPhone or iDevice. And if you are on Windows, you can simply share it with. If you're on Mac, you can use QuickTime Player and use that to share the screen.
Okay. So Adarsh has one question. Issues interrupting iOS traffic at Burp Suit.
That doesn't sound like a question. That sounds like a
Yeah,
statement.
yeah, that sounds like a statement. So Adarsh, it would be better if you dig more, like if you tell us more about the what are the issues which you are facing rather than just writing the problem. So it will be much better. So yeah, is ADB good enough to check database contents and database related testing in mobile?
So if you want to test, when it comes to databases related testing, basically people look for SQL injection related testing on the device. So basically SQLite related database is created onto the device, Android device, and that is what people generally looks for. So the first way to find whether there is an SQL injection or a database related connection being done from the application on the Android device is to look into the source code. Sorry. So as you just saw over here, if you open this one. Uh, I think I opened too many screens. Let me just close it. So,
If you're intending on sharing a screen, then you can like share them.
oh yeah, I forgot.
Yeah,
Just one
the
minute.
first step, you need to share the screen.
Yeah. All right. So this is the screen. So, one of the easy ways to just simply check for SQL over here. So you just go to decompile the source code and then open it with JADX and then simply click here and search for SQL, and then you'll get all the source code where the application is tested with that command, right? And the second way is to use Browser. So I think Browser also comes pre-installed with the Mobexler. So once you have Browser set up, you can simply connect with Browser, and Browser has a plugin which will help you in. Yeah, Browser is installed into Mobexler, so you can just connect Browser, and it will let you test whether there is a database connection or even if there is a SQL injection related issue into the application. So you can use both of these in a combination to find SQL related bugs into Android applications.
Okay, so where were we? Yeah, so Nikhil has a question for.
So
Um,
before we move forward to Nikhil's question, Adarsh asked a question related to SSL pinning. So Adarsh, if you once we are done with this session, I'll share this slide. This slide has a lot of interesting resources of how to test for how to do and what to do while testing the iOS application and Android application testing. So you can follow one of these. There are a couple of very nice utilities that I use. So for bypassing SSL pinning, if that was one of the concerns that you had, how can we bypass SSL? Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Others, yes. So basically, Frida is one which you can use to bypass SSL pinning very easy. Second, if you look at this section of my iPhone, I have installed, because this is iPhone 12, iOS 12. I have SSL kill switch 2 installed over here. I can use SSL kill switch 2 also to bypass jailbreak detection. So SSL pinning. So let me probably show you guys this demo. Do we have some time, Pratul? Should we get into this? It will take 5.
yeah, yes, we have
Okay,
allotted for this webinar.
yeah, I'll take the remaining questions after this. So others, let me show you. I'll just stop the disable certificate pinning. So right now, no SSL bypass is being done onto this phone. I'll simply go ahead and run. this test application. I have already set up. Oh, uh,
No worries.
okay, okay.
So, guys, all the other people who have asked the questions, Sanjay, Shivam, Brian, Riddhi, and all. We will take up once he completes the demo and everything. So, yeah,
Yeah,
I'll
just
have.
give me just give me 5 minutes, guys. Okay, I'll try to do it quickly. So I have already set up everything over here for SSL pinning bypass. Let's take an example of iOS. So if I go ahead, this is a training application that we use. So this has a hidden feature which lets you enable or disable SSL pinning. So currently SSL pinning is implemented into this phone in this application. So if I try to log in, I can. Uh, so let me. So let me disable the jailbreak detection, and then if I click login, I'm able to log in. Okay. Now let me go ahead and capture traffic. So I'm sharing that if the application is not having any SSL pinning in inbuilt. So what I'm doing is here I'll just add the proxy of the proxy that I'm running, which is on 192.168.0.8 and 8080. So this is done. I have already installed certificate and so on and so forth. So I'm not going to get into detail of that. But if I go back here and if I try to capture traffic, if I go to history, uh, I should be able to get, I should be, I'm not getting any request right now because SSL pinning was enabled, if you remember. And if I go here, should be able to see the errors also. So So let me try to run it again. And you see there is an SSL handshake error uh, to abstractors.com, which is the backend server for this application. Now, if I want to bypass, so currently it is not working. You can see very clearly. If I want to bypass it, I'll simply close this running right now, go to settings because I have already installed SSL kill switch. I'll just enable the SSL kill switch option, go back, then start the same application and probably log out first so that you guys can see clear history. Now, if everything works fine, the SSL pinning, even if it is enabled, the SSL pinning should get bypassed. So I'll just simply do this and click login. Once I click login, I got the request over here and response over here. So SSL pinning is bypassed simply by installing SSL kill switch on my iOS device. Now SSL kill switch is just one example of how you bypass SSL pinning. It's just one example, one tool which might help you in bypassing SSL pinning. But Frida objection, and there can be a bunch of other utilities, other tools also, which might help you in bypassing SSL pinning. So basically, I will suggest you to go to this uh, so we did a online session of demystifying Frida long back, Adarsh, in which Abhishek from my team talked about testing and bypassing SSL pinning and using Frida and by jailbreak detection using Frida. You can watch this video which talks about how to use Frida, basics of Frida, and bypassing these type of protections using Frida. Pradul, please share that on. I should post it on live comments.
Yes, sir. Done.
So, oh my God, there are a lot of questions remaining.
No, not a lot.
Okay.
So Sanjay had a question. Can you please paste the link of checklist here? So Sanjay, you can. I guess it's freely available over internet, right?
Which one? Can you paste the link of check? Yeah, it is. Everything is freely available so far, whatever I have talked about. So nothing is
So
paid. So
Sanjay, you can.
Mobexler.com.
Yeah,
Checklist is
go ahead.
this. Let me post it there, guys. Oh, I cannot. So let me send it to Pratul. Pratul, please post it. You can download Mobexler also. That is also free to use. Okay, how to read and recompile an app which was signed? If I am correct, the app is signed. It is hard to reverse engineer. No. Signing is mandatory. Signing is anyways mandatory, whether it is iOS or Android. So it does not matter whether you can reverse engineer or not. You can anyways reverse engineer if it is even if it is signed, because 100% time the application is signed. When you want to re-sign it in terms of in Android, you can, it is easier to do that. In iOS, you will need a Mac for that part. So that little part in which you have to actually resign, because Apple manages the signing of application bundles differently than how Android does it. So you have to ultimately use a Xcode, or more specifically an iOS app signer, which will use a certificate from your Mac to re-sign the application. I don't know. Do we have this again? But I think I have a re-signing of as a resources also. Into resources, I have reverse engineering link from some other blogger, and that is again that shows how to um, decompile the application, change the source code, or and again create the binary, re-sign it, and then install onto an iPhone. So you can do it both in both the devices, iPhone and Android. Change the binary and then re-sign it and reinstall it. And no, it does not have any impact. Signing is not related to reverse engineering or not. So you can reverse engineer irrespective of whether the application is signed or not.
So I'm popping up the next question.
Yeah.
Before that,
Brian, I guess.
do we have any more like the demo right now? Do we have any more thing which you will be covering right now, or are we taking up the questions?
I think we should take up the question. I have the demos, but I think there are a lot of contents which I have placed into the slide itself, and our YouTube channel also have a lot of demos as well. So people can anyways go ahead and watch the demos. It does not make sense to spend a lot of time in that.
Agreed. Any
Okay, please suggest any IPA for practice testing in Mobexler only without using Mac. So you can test any IPA without using Mac. So one of the things is that there are a lot of OS related sources. Let me put the link over here. OS, if you search, I think OS Playground, mobile hacking playground. So they have created a lot of interesting applications. MSTG Playground, yes, this is the one. I think you can download an iOS application from IPA from here also, and you will get the IPA, I think, from here. Let me post this link also into the.
So he'll be rejoining. I guess there are some issues on his end regarding the internet. Yes, Abhinav, you are there now.
Okay, so this is behaving strangely. It logged me out. I don't know how. Okay, yeah, Shivam. So I have posted a link of MSTG Hacking Playground. This is a free playground type of application which you can download IPA and APK both, and you can play around in Mobexler as much as you want.
Yeah. So this is another question. Did they ask this question?
What is the approach when analyzing the source code? Do you go through each file one by one? Yes. In short, yes, I go through each file one by one. So one interesting approach while testing, did you mean to ask it for Android or iOS? I think you meant for Android.
If she is here, then she will write Android. Or if she is not there, then we'll assume it is Android.
So
we can assume it's Android.
Okay, so if we go here, if you look here, basically for majorly for if you're testing it Android, for Android, if I answer this, so basically if you look into it, the package name right now was where is the browser? So if you go to the static,
if you are sharing anything, then you need to share the screen.
I keep on forgetting that part. Yes, here it is. So if you look over here,
so she's asking for both Android and iOS.
Okay, Riddhi. So so for Android, I'll answer first. So for Android, basically, if you look over here, all of the source code that you just decompiled, majority of it is either resources or these are the third-party dependency of the source code. So basically, the source code that the developer has actually written is somewhere inside the COM, Android, and abstractors. So this was the package name for any application. You'll find that this is the package name, and then this is the main source code. All the activities, all the adapters, APIs, and whatnot, these are the source code that the developer has written. So to find anything related to the what developer has done, this is what you should refer to. Now there are a couple of very important things that I would probably search for always, which is first is anything related to SQL, if there is a database being handled, anything related to hard-coded account, for example, root or something like that. For deep link, if there are deep links being handled, URL schemes, if they are being handled. So I'll just decompile the whole thing and then search from here, and I'll see that if there are any schemes, and I'll search it everywhere in the code, and then I'll try to find that whether I'm looking at the correct place or what this function or what this part is actually doing. So that's what my approach would be for Android. But I will again focus majorly on the source code written inside the application by the developer itself. So this part itself, majorly I'll focus on this. Now, when it comes to iOS, I basically run Hopper or Ghidra and then run the decompile the source code and then try to find again for similar related stuff. Like, for example, one quick trick that has helped me a lot of times is that whenever the application blocks you from doing anything, so basically reverse engineering helps you when you're trying to block anything or when there is security control implemented. So if you're searching for API keys, you can search for go to strings and you can search for keys, right? And then you might end up finding multiple keys. One good thing is that keys, secret, you can search for these things into strings part. But if you are testing it for something else, but if you are trying to find the logic of something, then one of the good approach is to actually try to execute. Like, for example, if you're trying to find, say there is a pin protection on an application. If you're trying to find that what the exact pin is hard-coded and whether the pin is hard-coded inside the application is not. And once you log in with the wrong pin, it tells you that login failed. So one of the keyword is failed. So I'll go to strings and I'll search for failed. So that is one condition that it is written. So this is a string that has to be in the decompiled application. So if I go to failed, you can see that I got a hit over here which says that precondition failed and it links to a memory address. Now, similarly, for anywhere, I'll try to first find out a keyword and then I'll try to go and reverse engineer through using that keyword. I'll try to go to this memory location. I'll try to find what is above and below this memory location. So if there is a pin protection, in a lot of cases, you'll find that if the pin is failed, you search for failed, end up on a memory location. And if the pin is hard-coded inside the application, you'll end up finding it. So if there was time, I could have shown that what was the pin for this part of the application. So if you open abstractors, if I log out and if I hit 6 times the icon, there is a pin. This pin is hard-coded into the application, inside the application menu, but I think it would take another 5-10 minutes. So I would not be able to demonstrate that part. But again, if you apply logical reasoning, you will ultimately be able to end up finding that part. So this is the approach that I generally find in reverse engineering the applications. Favorite keyword, that's a difficult question because there are no such list of favorite keywords. Basically, in most of the cases, I keep on thinking or I keep on creating such keywords. So if you follow the first approach, like looking at each file in Android, one of the another important part or interesting thing that I have found so far is that, so let's say that you stuck in iOS application of a company, a good idea, maybe not very legitimate or ethical, but a good idea is to go ahead and download the Android APK of that company. So let's say you are testing iOS application of Uber, which is in bug bounties, and you get stuck at some point. So majorly the developers implement exactly the same feature in both the versions. So if you get stuck at some point in iOS and you're not able to find the exact answer of it, a good idea would be to go ahead, download the APK, reverse engineer the APK, because in APK you'll have better chances of looking at the source code. Then look at the source code into APK and then try to find those things. So for searching for keywords, there's no specific list that I maintain or have, which I can share with you. But most of the times it basically depends upon, thinking logically and trying to come up with keywords that might be interesting. Sometimes you will stuck upon one keyword which might relate to something else. If you find failed, if you search for, let's say, secret, and you find a place, it is good idea to look at the top of the source code in Android application and see that what all files is this code importing into it, and then look into all those imports also. So that's how it works mostly in my case. Let me have some water, and Pratul, you can
Yeah,
post.
should have water. You have
Yeah,
been speaking for around 60 minutes.
yeah, almost. Could you share tools for encrypting APK and IPS so that they are hard to decode? I think I sense a lot of
Vagueness in the
uh,
question.
yeah, no. I mean, basically, Mukesh, you don't encrypt the APK or IPA. Basically, if I talk about APK, so once you upload the APK onto Android Google Play Store, you can't encrypt the APK as such, because if you encrypt the APK, how different devices are going to run it? And similarly, in IPA, Apple Play Store automatically encrypts all the IPAs when they are installed onto the devices through App Store. So encryption is something that you don't do. What you do is basically code obfuscation. So I'm sorry. So what happens is when you're writing the source code, it is a good idea.
And I guess StreamYard logged him out again.
You can hear me, Pratul? It keeps me
Yes, yes.
logging.
I'm not sure what is happening, but yeah. So Mukesh
Okay.
said,
Anyways,
yeah, we do obfuscate the codes. So he knows about it.
yes. So, Mukesh, if you're obfuscating properly and if you doing it correctly, then you don't need to encrypt. And encrypting is not at all, encrypting is not at all something that you anyways do. Could you share encrypting
Yeah, it's the same
APK?
question.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah. Well,
yes, I
Well,
guess that's it.
Mukesh, again, encryption can be done two ways. Let me quickly answer this. Encryption can be done two ways. I don't know if you're asking for Android or iOS. You can either use a tool for encryption, or you can either use a do it manually. Let's take, for example, if you do again, manual is the one that I would recommend. If you're using a tool does not know what is sensitive, what is not sensitive. The obfuscation that the tool is going to provide will be limited and can be reversed. If the obfuscation that you are doing with the common sense, one of the cool examples or good examples that I like is that if you have to, let's say, share up, if you have to inject or put the source code or a secret inside a string. Let me share the screen first.
Yes.
Probably. Okay, so I think you can see my screen now.
Yes, we can
Is it
now.
visible? Okay.
Yes, it is.
So let's say that, yeah, let's say that you have a key, a secret that you want to include into your source code. This is the secret. Like now, if you obfuscate it and if you want to store it into the source code, you will probably mark it as var_secret equals this value. And when somebody reverse engineer it, they will find this value and they'll know that the secret is this. If you want to obfuscate this, one of the ways is to do don't name the parameter as secret, rather name it as var_a. And if there are multiple similar type of character, it would be difficult to obfuscate. Another example is that another good approach is probably take this, a little difficult, but take this and change it into multiple sections, something like this. Create different variables. One equals this, and then two equals this, and then 4 equals this, and then a equals this, and then write another probably function which actually does a concatenation of this 1 plus 2. And because if you notice, I did not name it correctly, so after there is no 3. So if somebody reverse engineers it, all they will see is these random parameters, and they will not, it would not be very easy for them to find that how to join them together to find the correct secret. So the same information is there into the code, but because you change into this different parts, and you actually made it very difficult for the reverse engineer to know it. So again, theoretically it can be reversed, practically extremely difficult to reverse. So that is example of manual obfuscation. Tool-based obfuscation you can do. ProGuard is already there into the Android, which you can use. There are more multiple such tools for iOS as well. Uh, Feel free to ping me on Twitter. I'll probably give you some links. It will take some time for me to currently locate the exact URL.
So I guess that's it. I'm enjoying this session. Please schedule next level in coming days. Yeah. Okay. So that depends upon Abhinav's availability. So he
Sure.
has been always keen on giving out sessions and all. So yeah, we will be in touch with him. And Shivam, if you really want to, like, if you have learned anything out of it, it would be a pleasure if you give a session on this as well. So yeah, I guess that's it. The question part. So this brings us to the end of the webinar. Thank you, Abhinav. Thank you for your
You're
precious
welcome, guys.
time. I
Thanks a lot,
know,
guys, for inviting me.
we all know that you are really, like, you are busy, but yeah, thank you for taking out time and letting and answering all these questions and having such a good webinar with Nal Lily, with Nal and Ovas Lily. So okay,
Thank you.
bye.
Probably the screen at the end, so
I'm
that
so
if
sorry.
somebody wants to connect back. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I have given this. This is my email address, guys. If you see this, can you see my screen, Pratul?
Yes, yes, we could see your screen. Like we could see this
So this
like
is this is my email address. There is a Slack group that we have. The If you want to join the Slack group, it's free to join. Just click on this link and fill in the information. You'll be added to the link. There are around 200 people on the Slack channel, so you can discuss things. And if you want to reach out to me on Twitter, you can probably contact me on Octacoder. So that's if you want to, go back and reach out to me again for any more questions that you might have.
Okay, Abhinav. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Bye bye.
Yeah, bye bye. So yeah, that's it from this week's webinar. So yeah, we do share the videos and the links, and everything will be shared. Give us a couple of time. And yes, if you really enjoyed this webinar, please write it to us in the comment section. And we do send out feedback forms to all those who have registered on Swachalit. And yeah, so that's it from my side. This is Pratul, one of the co-leads of the Nal Delhi chapter. Until next time, until I guess it'll be next week, we will be having our the announcement pretty soon. So yeah, till then, take care. Bye bye.